Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis was removed from the Georgia election interference case against Donald Trump on Thursday. The court cited an appearance of impropriety as the reason for her disqualification. She filed a notice that she will appeal. This is referring to her romantic relationship with Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade, who she put on the case before he stepped down from his role in March. In a 2-1 ruling, the court said, quote, "This is the rare case in which disqualification is mandated and no other remedy will suffice to restore public confidence in the integrity of these proceedings."
The decision reverses an earlier ruling that Willis could stay on the case if Wade stepped aside. Trump told Fox News Digital Thursday the case is, quote, "entirely dead and has been a disgrace to justice and was started by the Biden DOJ as an attack on his political opponent, Donald Trump. There is no way such corrupt people can lead a case and then it gets taken over by somebody else," end quote. But the indictment against Trump was not dismissed, leaving the future of the case uncertain. Trump and 18 co-defendants were indicted in August of 2023 over alleged efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 election in Georgia. Internet personality Andrea Junker weighed in, saying, quote, "The fact that I know more about Fani Willis and Nathan Wade's relationship than I do about the crimes committed by Ginny Thomas and Clarence Thomas shows exactly what is terribly wrong with today's political mainstream media."
But conservative academic Nick Floor commented, "Does the winning ever stop with real Donald Trump? Please, Mr. President, enough. I can't take any more. We keep winning. It's too much. Too much winning, Kevin."
Too much winning already, and he hasn't even taken office.
Unbelievable. Well, look, this was one of the, I think, more concerning cases for the president because there were some individuals who already pleaded guilty to some of the election interference or attempts to overturn the election. But Fani Willis just mucked the whole thing up by doing one of the stupidest things I've ever seen an attorney do, which was appoint her boyfriend to the case.
Everyone knew it in the county. That was the case.
Everyone knew that it was her boyfriend. And then she repeatedly lied about their relationship, claiming that it ended before he joined the office, which multiple witnesses testified to was not the case, and seemingly had no qualms about the fact that she was paying for these trips for these two with her salary that she was receiving.
There were cash reimbursements and all kinds of salacious things.
And her explanation for that when she was doing her deposition or her testimony in the case was, well, we keep cash around because of our history as Black people. It's like, okay, sure.
The Robert Menendez defense with gold bars and cash in his mouth.
Exactly.
Listen, I think to your point, I think this was one of the more concerning cases to Donald Trump. We all heard that tape, right, of him pressuring then Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger of Georgia to find me those 11,000 or so votes.
Although I think they did exclude that from evidence ultimately.
Yeah, but in terms of the court of public opinion, though, right?
Sure.
That there were tapes, there was that kind of pressure campaign that was mounted. Certainly this is a big win for the former president. Now he and his team tried to push for the case to be completely dismissed. That 3-judge ruling came down saying, though, that the case can go forward. Potentially another prosecutor could step in. But certainly with what the DOJ memo about, indicting a sitting president, obviously the president-elect takes office in just a matter of a month now. And this case will likely go by the wayside. There is that factor, as you rightly point out. There were 18 co-defendants. Any number of them have already pled guilty to some of those charges. Some of them have faced different results because of that pleading. But certainly a win for the former president, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, and all of the criminal cases that he was facing have gone by the wayside, with Jack Smith being ruled ineligible to be the special prosecutor. He was supposedly unconstitutionally appointed, and then ended up wrapping up the J6 case after the election because of that DOJ memo that you mentioned about prosecuting a sitting president.
Exactly.
So the only two that have...
Along with the documents case, too.
Exactly, the classified documents case as well as the January 6th case. And so the only two cases that have rendered any sort of consequences, for lack of a better term, to the president-elect are civil cases. The fraud case in Manhattan, where he was accused of inflating his real estate assets to obtain loans, and then the E. Jean Carroll case, where a jury claimed that he had sexually abused her and defamed her by saying that he hadn't. So those are both monetary consequences. There's a potential
monetary
sentencing.
consequences.
Certainly, hundreds of millions of
Yeah.
dollars. And then there was a sentencing for the fraud case that was delayed pretty significantly and looks like will be inevitably delayed. Well, is inevitably delayed until after the president leaves office.
And is 83 at the time, I think.
Yeah, because what was interesting about that, I thought, is that they dismissed it without prejudice. So they did reserve the right to potentially sentence him after he leaves office.
When he's 83.
Right.
I mean,
I hope they don't do that.
We do know that he looks good in orange, so there is that element to that.
Brutal.
But listen, this was the last criminal case that was set to go to trial. And certainly there was some hope on that. But again, I return to this original point that you made. Fani Willis, you had one job.
Right.
Not to give this job to your boyfriend that everyone knew about. You took on this national mantle. I mean, she went on a media campaign about this issue, and it just totally backfired. And again, Trump is vindicated. We saw that with both of the impeachment hearings that went forward. Obviously, he was impeached by the House 2 times and then acquitted by the Senate. And he got a bump in terms of public opinion because of that acquittal. And I think you're seeing a similar dynamic play out coming out of Georgia.
And after that Mar-a-Lago raid with the classified documents case happened, he was a shoo-in for the Republican primary because people viewed it as lawfare against him.
And that ongoing trial over the summer that Nikki Haley, Ron DeSantis, others could not get any oxygen in that primary campaign because he was able to take on that mantle of, I'm this victim, I'm fighting for you, you're next, which resonated with a lot of Republican primary goers.
It did. One of the most interesting pieces of polling that came out of the election was that, yes, democracy was a top 5 issue, but not in the way that Democrats anticipated it would be.
That's very true.
You had a lot of Trump supporters say that democracy was a very important issue for them, and the difference was only like a 4-point swing in Democrats versus Republicans saying that democracy was their top issue, which indicated that, yes, the idea that there was lawfare being used against Trump and Republicans were concerned about them being next in line was something that was very important to them.
Yeah, and it resonated with a good number of voters, especially in that primary, which is how he's able to be successful, certainly.
All right, we're going to leave it there. We have a lot more topics to talk about on Rising right after this.